Hello, and welcome to A Place to Call Home. It's our weekly series where we talk about everything. My very special guest, live in studio with me, I'm proud to say this is my state representative, State Representative Terry Landry from District 96. It is good to have you here, sir.
Well, as always, Portia, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's always good to come to you and listen to you. And I've watched your show diligently and just listen to you talk about the issues of today and keeping our public informed. So it's always a pleasure for me to be here.
Well, I just wanted to have a sit down with you, not for any special reason, but just to find out what's on your mind, what's going on in the district, some things, one upcoming thing that you have with AmeriCorps. That's a wonderful project. Everybody knows the kids have already gone back to school, but you kind of save this thing until later. So tell me about that.
Well,
Why?
I mean, like we were speaking of earlier, needs are not seasonal. Sometimes I see organizations, try to meet a need at a special time, and in the rest of the time, families suffer. We know that there's been a lot of initiatives, a lot of groups did some great work on the back to school, helping kids have the resources, get all the resources that they need so that our children can succeed and get out of this rut that we're in terms of education. I've collaborated with the AmeriGroup and several other people, Senator Fred Mills, Representative Taylor Barra, Iberia Parish Sheriff's Department, Walgreen, Iberia Comprehensive, and there's several other vendors that I'm probably missing because I don't have the list before me. But we're going to have a health screening fun day tomorrow at the West End Park in New Iberia at the Martin Luther King Center. And we got 500 book bags to give out. It's going to be on a first come, first served basis. We only ask one thing, that the parents bring the children. Bring your children and let them experience some of the goodies and some of the things that we're going to have. We're going to have several vendors. We're going to do face painting. We're going to have balloons. We're going to have everything. We'll have a static display that the kids can see. I want the kids to get to know the police officers in their community. I want them to see them not in an adversarial situation, but that's the only way we're going to break these bad relationships that the community has with the police department. When a police department or a sheriff department does not engage with its community, it's a recipe for disaster.
That's real important. And while we're in New Iberia, I do want your comments on the ongoing investigation into the Mitchell incident.
To the white.
To the white
yes,
incident.
Yes. Well, first of all, I like many other people, my heart goes out to the whites. My sympathy and for the pain that they're enduring, and no one should have to live through this type of pain that this family has endured. I've been in public service from my previous career as a state police officer. I was also a criminal investigator in this area, and I also rose to the rank of the superintendent. I've worked many of these investigations. I think that the community has to be vigilant to ensure that justice is served, but we also have to be patient and let this investigation take its course. What we should be seeking, and I'm seeking, is facts, not fiction, not street talk. I want the facts. Obviously, some people made some mistake. The investigators made some mistake when they alluded that the young man had been shot in his back. That has proven to be wrong. Now, how are you going to get that puppy back in the box? I don't know. I've had some conversations with the state police. As my duty as an elected official, I've had conversations with the state police, and I've had conversations with the sheriff himself, and voiced my concern. And because of my background and my experience, I know when something is fraudulent, and I know when something is sincere. So my suggestion is to our community, be vigilant, keep the pressure on, but let's let the facts prove out what happened.
It's like these same types of incidents, though, are happening sporadically all over the country.
And it's exactly, but we have to look at the cause and effect of it. Portia, when we were fighting the legislature about stand your ground and weapons and guns in every home, people carry guns everywhere. There are not many people stood up with us. People said that, oh, I own a gun. I own a gun too. But when these expansions of gun rights continue to take center stage in our legislature and no one fights it and they pass, then we're setting ourselves up for this type of cowboy, shoot 'em and ask questions later mentality.
Well, we are the sportsman's paradise, and
Well, it's supposed to be sportsmen for hunting, not for human bodies. And again, I think that our society and our community, and in particular this state, is setting up our young kids. And I'll go out on a limb, not on a limb. I'll go out and say what I feel, that
You always do.
our African American kids are at risk more than we want to acknowledge. They're at risk in terms of incarceration. We incarcerate higher than anywhere else in the world. Anywhere in the world, 80% of the people that incarcerate are African American, and they're at risk for these police shootings. And it's just, we've got to break this cycle.
what are some of the other things that you were passionate about this past legislative session, sir?
Well, I am definitely passive about this distinction that we have in Louisiana as being the incarceration capital of the world.
That's not a good statistic.
That's not a good statistic.
We've held that statistic for
Too long.
far too long.
Too long. I think that it's very, very important that we break this cycle of poverty. Portia, we're celebrating a lot of things in 2014. 50 years of this, 50 years of that, 50 years of civil rights, all the acknowledgments of what happened, how many people died and how many people sacrificed so that we could be in a posture where we are today. But our society, we declared war on poverty in 1964. If we had spent as much money actually on the war on poverty as we spent on incarceration, we wouldn't be in the shape that we're in. And I talk about poverty because disproportionately is another number that we're high in this state. When a person can't read, when a person can't write, when a person cannot function, how do you expect them to go and seek a job? How do you expect a person to go on the internet and apply for a job? How do you expect for those people to feed their families? So people fall into a trap of doing things that are illegal. 52% of the people locked up in Louisiana for nonviolent, non-sexual crimes. So it tells me that it's drugs, it's drug-related deals, incarceration. We have this 3 strikes and you're out legislation that was passed in the 80s that the federal government said if you pass these tough on crime laws, we're going to give you monies, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, the monies have gone away. The progressive state have reduced these sentencing and talk about nonviolent crimes and alternative to sentencing. We have stayed stuck in the 60s, in the 80s, and it's a burden. It's a burden not only on the family, because when you sentence a person to jail, you sentence the family. We get the calls every day. We get the calls every day from parents and from grandparents and wives. My husband's in jail in North Louisiana. It takes me 4 hours to get there. And then when I get there, it's an hour visitation. They're not doing anything for him. There's no rehabilitation. So we've got a cycle of people going into our criminal justice system. That's just one of the passions that I have. We're getting ready to have one of the most significant economic explosions in this state's history.
Really?
Yes, this South African company, Sansar, is going to build this liquefied petroleum plant in Lake Charles. It's a $60 to $70 billion initiative, and I'm talking with a B. They're building a $40 million village for workers. None of those workers are going to be from Louisiana. They're going to be from out of state. They're going to be from different parts of the country.
Why?
Because we don't have the workforce. Our governor has gone around this state giving all these tax incentives, bringing the business in. We don't have the workforce that's prepared to accept this 21st century challenge. It's all the work that we do, all the tax credits, all the tax breaks that we get. If our people cannot get employment, then shame on us. We've been back and forth to Lake Charles trying to get the local delegation there and engage. I've been with small businesses, people, legitimate businesses. Alton Brothers, and that's a welding fabrication in Laurelville. Alton was the largest, he was the welding superintendent for Red Fox Industry at Lake Charles. That business closed and he started his own business. Alton does a lot of business. He should have an opportunity to compete and to bid and ensure that some of the money turns around in Louisiana. So I'm very, very concerned about the economic opportunity for our people. The other thing that I've worked with the Black Caucus is voter registration and getting people registered to vote. Portia, I know I'm preaching to the choir. We're asleep. We need a turnout in this next cycle of elections like we had for Barack Obama or when David Duke ran. We need a galvanization of our community so that we can go and vote and turn back some of this.
What do you think makes people so passive? Why?
Because people
I get excited.
I get
at this
excited too.
time.
I get excited too. First of all, we got to take the money out of politics.
Oh, yeah.
There are people in our community who are taking money and supposed to be delivering the vote. I resent that. I resent
I've
it.
always resented
I resent anybody saying that they can deliver me because they can't deliver me. And I think that people have developed a bad taste. Politicians say one thing and do something else. They come in the community during the time of election, and then they disappear. And they don't think they have to come back because they've paid their way.
And that's why I'm glad to have you here, sir. That's why I'm glad to have you here. I've always respected the fact that you will tell it and tell it like it is. And I am always glad that I can call you on the phone and get you anytime I say, look, let's talk. Let's see what's going on. Let's talk about something. So tell me, another thing that I wondered about was you're on the Transportation Committee. What about this I-49
Well, this
corridor?
is this I-49 corridor, 5 miles from the airport to I-10. 5 miles. It's going to cost us $1 billion. That's with a B, and that's the preliminary. And that was some 5-6 years ago. So as time passes, we know the cost increases. Well, the powers that be have made a decision that they're going to run I-49 in an elevated status through Lafayette. Now, there's some important things about that we have to take note of.
Are we going to do tolls and all
Well,
that?
the tolls, I don't know if we're going to do tolls. There's a commission over here that is studying that. I've not been invited to be on that toll commission, and that's okay. That's okay. Well, let me tell you what elevated highways do when you run them through a municipality and through a city. And all the statistics are there and the studies are there. First, it divides a community. It divides a community. And usually the community that is adversely impacted is our community. It draws the wrong kind of people, these elevated highways, because it draws homeless, it draws crime. It really, really hurts a community. First and foremost, it's the most expensive, intrusive means of bringing a highway. And there are studies, and I got a white paper that a national study was done last July, said that these elevated highways are for political purposes only. New Orleans, the Claiborne corridor, if you're familiar with Claiborne, it's the elevated portion. They're trying to figure out how they can drop that road back to the level where that is not elevated. This is something that I think we're not going to see in our lifetimes because the cost is too large. But I hope that somebody picks up the gauntlet when I'm gone and raise the awareness. They're buying property for the sake of getting out front, and so there'd be too much money invested that they can't turn back. But it's going to definitely hurt a part of this community, the Macomb, Visay, north side of Lafayette. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt us bad.
Okay, I can't let you leave without talking a little bit about education and what's going on with our teachers, our students, Common Core, and all of that debacle.
Well, I don't sit on education, but I support public education. Let me get that out front. I support public education, and I support public educators. I've not heard one administrator, one teacher say that we don't want accountability, we don't want standards. What our governor has done, our governor, 47 states got together with the superintendents and governors, and Louisiana included, and they came up with some standards that are going to be national, so that our kids can compete with kids in Washington, D.C. and Virginia, that you have this standard. That's all Common Core is. It's a set of standards. Our governor accepted Common Core. We've already implemented Common Core in some districts.
And then
The governor looked towards Iowa or Washington, D.C., and somebody said, this is not good for you to be in. So what he's done is he's changed his mind, and there's nothing wrong with changing your mind when you accurately get more information and it's sincere. But this is for political purposes only. And it's basically left our state in shambles with confusion. Teachers are prepared to teach. They don't have the standards and the information that they need because there's a paralyzation, if you would, on where they're going to go with Common Core. Now, John White, his educational superintendent, is for Common Core. But let me say this, and again, I have a strong opinion about a lot of things. The people who I think are fighting Common Core, they put a taint on it, if you would, because they said it's a federal mandate. And when they talked about federal mandate today, you're talking about President Obama.
of course.
So that automatically had a segment of our community who is opposed to anything that this president does. That's the facts. That is the facts. Okay, so that's their way of raising people who are uninformed and not stakeholders to raise their opposition to any initiative, just put up an Obama taint on it.
Okay. All right, Holy Rosary, you fought long, you fought hard. We didn't get exactly what we wanted.
We didn't get anything. Let's be frank. We didn't get anything but a kick in the rear end and told to go home and sell plurines and raise our popcorn balls and chicken dinners to raise money.
And plant some gardens.
And plant some gardens. Holy Rosary today is not an initiative that we don't have. I don't have a specific plan, but I'm always planning. And I'm not going to let this facility that is in our community just die without a fight. I am committed to trying to get the proper funding and get tax dollars. I'll be honest with you, tax dollars. Let me share something with you. You know, we were beat up saying that you can't use public dollars for private entities. They beat us up bad. They made Vince and I look like we were legislators that didn't know what we were doing. Well, I was called to a setting where they had a $10 million, a $20 million project for the Boy Scouts in the Chaffalot Basin. The last time I checked, the Boy Scout was a nonprofit, non-government private entity. The governor committed $10 million to it. The same people who were criticizing us for trying to get $250,000 out of a $4 million initiative were in that room shaking their head, supporting that $10 million of state monies to the Boy Scouts. And I'm not opposed to the Boy Scouts getting it. I want fairness for my community, and I don't think that I was elected to be a second-class legislator. I don't think I was elected to go and check with a certain group to see what legislation I can submit. I mean, I have people ask me, I'll tell you, did you check with the chamber before you filed that? Well, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I thought there was 3 forms of government, and the chamber not being one of them. So the Holy Rosary initiative is not dead. We're committed, and I think sooner or later we're going to get something done. We're working with the federal agencies to try to figure out if we can find some historical site monies from the Interior Department and different agencies.
Now, you know, I have to tell you, Mr. Landry, I was hesitant, I was questionable about your bill about these spokes on cars. I didn't know what that was about. I was saying, where is he going? What is he doing?
It was a public safety issue. It's a bill, and that I saw a need, and that was the old police in me that was trying to bring these wheels where they don't stick out so far that could cause a person. We have a very mobile society, especially in the African American community. If you go down 12th Street, you go down Truman Street, you're going to see people walking. And
I see you everywhere.
yeah,
I want to say that all over the community.
And most of our communities don't have sidewalks, so people are walking in the street. They're riding their bicycle, not because they're doing it for exercise. They're doing it because it's a conveyance of transportation for them. And some of these wheels are extreme, Portia. And I didn't realize, I got to be honest, I didn't realize the cost that was associated with it. And I didn't realize that I was taking on such a culture. And the bill died in the Senate. And I just says, if our community thinks that this is something, it shouldn't have been brought by me. It should have been brought by the Public Safety Department. And do I regret bringing it? No, I don't regret. I understand it better now. But these things run some up to $4,500 a piece.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you this, there's somebody making money, and they don't look like me and you. They hired the highest paid lobby in the state of Louisiana for this.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. The highest. And I'm telling you, no one looked like us in making the money off this.
Well, State Representative Terry Landry, District 96. We've been just cordially chatting here, and it's good to have my state representative here with this sit down today. So, sir, I know you go back into session March, April, somewhere around that time. Are there any things that you will specifically concentrate on? Have you got your mind set on doing? I don't know.
This is a fiscal session, so we're only allowed 5 non-fiscal bills before the session. I haven't come up with many bills that I'm not a big bill guy. I just want to make sure that the community I serve is included. I want to make sure that there are not any bills that will adversely impact my community. So, people want to know how many bills you filed. I mean, they file thousands of bills.
Yeah.
Some of those bills are not even worth the paper they're written on.
And if they do get into law, a lot of times the law is not enforced on a lot of that
and it's
stuff.
Unconstitutional. All this symbolic stuff, for me, is not very important. But we're in a fiscal session. We're also in a deficit. And the Black Caucus last fiscal session had worked together with a tax attorney, Professor Pierre from Southern Law Center, and he came up with a viable, very, very doable, sustainable proposed on tax reform. And what he's proposed is that we suspend, not revoke or eliminate, we suspend 15% of 24 entities that are getting tax breaks. If we just suspend it for 2 years, 15%, I mean they can get 85% of the tax break, 15% would come out of deficit and have a surplus.
Are we going to ever raise the minimum wage in Louisiana? How many bills were filed to do that?
Many bills. The right-wing side, the Republican side of this state have deemed it necessarily to oppose any type of increase for minimum wage. I think it's appalling. But we're committed. We're committed to continue fighting. We'll continue to try to work across the aisle with our colleagues. Next November, we're going to have a new governor. Next January, we're going to have a new governor. And that's critical. That's going to be important. So when these guys come to our community and start talking about what they're going to do for us, we need to ask them, what are you going to do about the minimum wage? What are you going to do about equal pay for women? What are you going to do about this mass incarceration that's going on? What are you going to do about this $12 billion backlog and highway funds? Those are the questions that need to be asked.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than just giving us a pipe dream and promises that we don't hold them accountable for.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining me in this setting. And we always want to say to you, just keep fighting for us, keep doing what you do, and I think you do it well. Thank you very, very much for this sit down.
Thank you, and thank the community, because we've been well received, and it's really important when people in the community respect and appreciate. Not always have to agree, but respect what you do, and that keeps me going.
All right. That's going to wrap up our show for today, and we'll be back next week with something else. In the meantime, I'm Portia Evans, along with State Representative Terry Landry. We'll be back next week with another show and something else. You have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
All right.